Hey beautiful, welcome to Dr. Sarah's Café. This is a special oracle message for Pluto moving back into the sign of Capricorn and doing its final excavation of that Capricorn area of life. It's currently retrograding from the sign of Aquarius and entering into the sign of Capricorn again for the final time on September 1st, and it will stay in Capricorn for about 2.5 months until November 19th. Give or take a day or two, depending on where you are in the planet, okay? So Pluto first entered Capricorn way back in 2008. And so Pluto is the slowest moving planet in our solar system. And that means that its cycles, speak to long chapters, long cycles in our life, long phases of growth and development in our lives. And so you can look back all the way back to 2008, if you were already born then, and see what themes started to show up in your life right around that time and play out over the past 20 or so years. What new people did you meet? What were some of the transitions and transformations that started to take place within you and within your life? Because whatever it is, whatever syncs up with that timing of Pluto moving into the sign of Capricorn, it's going to start to really culminate in the next couple of months with Pluto doing its final hurrah at the very end of Capricorn. What's really interesting to me is that Pluto is coming back to the exact same spot where we recently had that full blue moon in Capricorn. And you remember on that day, on that weekend, we had some political upset, some political frenzy happening in the United States. And that's interesting to me because Capricorn is the sign of government. It is the sign of, rulership and structures, societal structures, right? And authority figures. And so to see such transformative energy potentially taking place under these energies, it really lines up. Now, the oracle cards that I pulled, I'll get to those in a second, speak more to our personal lives and what you can do personally and how this Pluto's final dance in Capricorn might speak to you in your individual lane, right? But because Pluto is that intergenerational societal level planet moving from the sign of authority and the status quo and, rigid institutions of Capricorn and moving into the sign of the people, of the masses, into Aquarius for the next 20 or so years, I think that's something for people who are interested to sort of track and just start to pay attention to, okay? Now, getting to the personal side of this with Pluto as a planet of power, personal power, again, even if we think about societally, like who wields power, who holds power, power of the ruling class versus power of the everyday people. And in yourself, what is your source of power? What is your source of authentic power? How have you started to take your power back in the area of your life that is touched and ruled by Capricorn energy, okay? So think about, even if you don't know your birth chart and you don't really know where Capricorn is in your birth chart, even if you don't even know what a birth chart is, you can think about what area of your life, what side of your personality have you started to take your power back over the past 15 to 20 years, okay? So maybe it's in romantic partnerships. Maybe you started to stand up for yourself. Maybe you started to raise your standards and stop accepting less than what you really deserve. Maybe it's in your career and you finally, over the past couple of decades, started to see your value and started to charge your worth and not let people take advantage of you on the job, right? Maybe it's in your health and you started to speak up for your health and take better care of your health and realize that your health is a true asset, and you advocate for yourself at the doctor's office or in hospitals, and you do what you can to negotiate a fair healthcare premium, or whatever area of your life it is. You have been given the opportunity and given the nudges and the support and sometimes the directive, sometimes the, meltdown or the breakdown, the breakthrough energy to really level up in some area and really step into your full power, okay? And so we're going to see a culmination of that, sort of like a commencement, a graduation, really, for a lot of us who have been doing that hard Pluto work in various parts of our lives, who have been taking those often hard lessons and often painful, uncomfortable lessons and really trying to integrate them, really trying to infuse that wisdom into our everyday life and how we show up for ourselves and in the world, we could see a graduation moment, right? We can finally see something coming to an end, coming to a close, so that we can open that next new chapter, okay? Because Pluto is going back to that same spot where that full moon in Capricorn was the weekend of July 21st, I believe. That could have been a foreshadowing. That could even clue you into what the graduation or culmination might feel like, or what it might encompass for you, just as a possibility, okay? And even if you are someone who keeps journals, you can look back at old emails, old photos, go through your photo library and just look at the past couple of decades of your life when Pluto went into Capricorn in the spring of 2008, I believe, okay? The oracle cards. Let's get to the oracle cards that I pulled, and I wanted to pull these oracle cards before I came on camera so that I could queue up the guidebook that I wanted to highlight certain sections from, okay? We got 3 cards, which was more than I expected, and I almost put them back because I didn't want the reading to be too long, and so I was like, oh, 3 cards, that could, lead to a longer reading, but then I saw what they were, and I was like, they're right. These are the cards that we're meant to see. So we have 1, 2, and then the card of 31. So the first card we have is the number 1, and it is Earth Magic. This is from the Oracle of the 7 Energies. We have Earth Magic, and this is beautiful because it is the start. It is that one. It is that first initial step, and it is the basis for everything that we manifest, right? And so Earth Magic is about planting those seeds. And I find it so interesting that Capricorn is an Earth sign, and Pluto is the sign or the planet that speaks to digging things up, right? Digging up things that are buried deep beneath the surface. And so that's why I call this video Pluto's last excavation of Capricorn, right? Because it's excavating something. Pluto is meant to dig something up. But with this Earth Magic card, I feel like Pluto is like digging up the soil, tilling the soil, taking out the toxins from the soil, right? Taking out any impurities, right, from the soil, so that when we plant that next seed, when we plant the new seed for our next and new chapter, the soil is ready to receive it. Okay, so we can embrace this Pluto excavation and composting of that last little stint of Capricorn energy, because it's going to prepare the soil and fill it with the nutrients and make it healthy enough to support whatever intentions and seeds we're planting in it next. Okay, so I'll read a brief description here from the Earth Magic, and it says, everything you are, your evolution and the successful manifestation of your dreams begin below the surface of consciousness. Until an idea comes, conviction takes hold, and something meaningful can be planted. And I love this because the author says, your dreams begin below the surface of consciousness. And that is Pluto energy at its essence, at its core. It is Lord of the underworld, and that includes our internal underworld, our subconscious, right? Our subconscious programming, our underlying psyche, right? All that speaks to Pluto energy. And it is that unconscious, it is that subconscious space from which we manifest. It is that subconscious, unconscious space from which we create our reality, oftentimes unconsciously so, right? And the other piece that I'll say for Earth Magic in terms of reading from the guidebook is that great magic is germinating underground, working its way to the surface to deliver more blessings than you could imagine. Let it. And I'm almost getting goosebumps here because Pluto wrapping up its last little archaeological dig in the sign of Capricorn, it's like Pluto has gone under the surface. It has gone deep into that ground, into that earth of the Capricorn area of our life. And it started to work some magic down there. It started to work, cast some spells and do a little root work, pun intended, right? Pluto has been doing some root work, some magic beneath that surface. And we might have been experiencing it as earthquakes or, mudslides or quicksand, and it's just like, yeah, Pluto is is doing its thing, and it feels jarring, it feels shocking, it feels painful, but it's been working its own brand of magic for us, so that the blessings that I think we're going to be gifted. You know, when I first started watching tarot videos and listening to people talk about astrology more consistently back in 2019, one of the people I watch Natalie, would say that before a planet leaves a sign, it gives a gift. It gives a gift to the degree and to the extent that we've been doing the work that that planet has asked us to do, that we've been leaning into the lessons, etc. It says, hey, this is what you've been investing into this area of your life. And now that we're ready to move on, you get the certificate. This is your graduating moment. And so I'm really excited for all of us individually to see what that honorific will be in our lives, some kind of reward for all of the hard work that you've endured and learned through and grown through with this Pluto transit. I feel like there was something else I was saying here or thinking here. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's it for the Earth Magic card. The second card we got is the number 2, and it is Roots of Abundance. Roots of Abundance. And so when I made the little pun on root work, because we're talking about planting seeds, excavating things under the ground, and Pluto being in an earth sign, and we also get the card Roots of Abundance. So talk about root work indeed, right? Roots of Abundance is about being grounded, being rooted in your authenticity, and knowing that that is the foundation of your manifestations. And I want to read here key concepts for Roots of Abundance: being stabilized by deep roots, anchoring yourself and feeling secure in your life, trust and belief in abundance. Life happens for you, not to you. A lot of times Pluto transits and Pluto aspects, the movement of Pluto throughout our lives, can feel like life is happening to us. It feels out of our control. It feels out of our power, but it's precisely to help us recognize where we do have power. It's precisely to help us recognize where we need to accept, embrace, step into our power. It continues, the guidebook: all your hopes and dreams are firmly grounded and taking root so that you can reach for the stars in your life and expand your dreams further than you can imagine. And I love this so much because after the sign of Capricorn is the sign of Aquarius, which is the sign of the future. My friends, whatever loose ends Pluto is trying to tie up in Capricorn, that final excavation, that final archaeological dig, that final trek through the wilderness of the earth sign of Capricorn, is to make sure, give us one last stint to really, really make sure we've squeezed and wrung out every bit of lesson, wisdom, power, strength, authority we possibly can, so that when Pluto fully and finally enters Aquarius for good, it can help us actualize our future vision. That future vision, the best, our highest hopes and dreams for our future and our lives and the future of our communities and societies. It's based on a solid, rooted foundation that cannot be shaken. Okay, you think about a tree growing as tall as its roots are deep. A skyscraper, wanting to build that skyscraper as high as you possibly can, necessitates digging that foundation as deep as you can possibly go. And I feel like that's one of the gifts of Pluto doing this, the whole transit of Pluto through Capricorn, but especially putting in those final stakes deep into that ground, so that when we're ready to really build that future vision personally and individually, as well as collectively and societally, we can do so on the firmest, most deeply rooted foundations, okay? And then the other thing I highlighted in the guidebook: if you find yourself in ungrounded thinking, now is the time for radical trust. Growth never follows a straight line. You will manifest what you need when you need it. A tall, healthy tree doesn't need to hold on to the ground for dear life. It knows it will not fly away with the wind because its roots are planted deep in the earth. Deep in the earth. And then this third card I love a lot It is 31, and it is the call of the muse. And this is what it looks like, my friends. It's very delightful to see this figure dancing in this sort of free-flowing stance, right? Sort of surrendering to the creative flow, right? Allowing her body to flow, surrendering her body to the flow of the music, to the call of the muse. And so this was unexpected. The first two cards, Earth Magic and Roots of Abundance, I could have picked those cards myself. I shuffled the deck and then, let the cards fall out as they wanted to. The first two cards, if I were purposely picking cards, I could see myself picking 1 and 2. They make sense. They very objectively track with Pluto and Capricorn. The call of the muse, though, is less obvious. It's a little more oblique. It's less on the surface of what Pluto and Capricorn could mean. And so I really want to unpack this one in particular. I have some tarot cards on deck so we can unpack all of them, but particularly the call of the muse. That's the one I really want to unpack because it speaks to something really particular that isn't readily noticeable on the surface of thinking about Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. Now, I will say what it likely means, because remember, this is about Capricorn, Pluto finishing up its business in Capricorn. It's like, I have a little bit of unfinished business. I have a little bit of loose ends to tie up. So I'm going to retrograde back the very end of that sign of Capricorn, do a little more digging, do a little more, nailing and hammering in, and then we'll be ready to step fully into the future. I'm thinking that with this call of the muse, one of two things. It's an opportunity to culminate a creative endeavor, an inspired project or initiative that we started around 2008 or within and between 2008 until now, somewhere in that span of time. We might have embarked on a creative, inspired, muse motivated initiative or work in our life. And we might see a beautiful culmination of that. We might see a beautiful swan song, a beautiful final opus of whatever that was. However, it could also manifest in sort of the opposite way, and that Pluto doing its last bit of work in Capricorn is what's going to free us up to surrender to the call of our muse in the future, right? And it could be both. But if it's more future oriented, it's like, let's compost and put away whatever limiting beliefs, whatever was holding you back, whatever old programming, whatever old societal narratives and scripts kept you afraid, kept you playing small, kept you denying your gifts, kept you fleeing from your true calling out of fear or out of obligation to some societal programming. We're going to really, really free you from that. We're really going to help you unlock yourself and unburden yourself from that, so that once Pluto crosses that threshold again for the last time in any of our lifetimes into Aquarius, we are fully free to answer the call of our muse without the baggage of whatever toxicity we had to compost in Pluto's transit through Capricorn. Okay. So from the guidebook, when it comes to the call of the muse, the part I wanted to highlight here says, today your muse is calling you to be a channel and allow the creative energy to flow through you. The energy of emotion is waiting to be given a voice, a name, a shape, or a color. Journal, finish that writing project, start something new, paint, sing, dance, and don't worry where any of it lands. It has its own plans for you. Your muse knows where this is all meant to go. For you, the big magic is in the experience of answering the call. And what's coming to mind now with this Capricorn energy is that it is about societal structures. And so for some of us, we have been blocking our call, we've been blocking our muse because it doesn't align with tradition. It doesn't align with some traditional value, some traditional role that we thought we needed to play, or that other people expected us to play, or that maybe we at one point thought we wanted to play, but we've been hearing that call because Pluto has dipped into Aquarius a few times already. We've started to hear that bell. We started to hear on the edges of our awareness and consciousness, there's a new calling. There's something else. There's something not quite in alignment with this traditional path, with this traditional fill in the blank. Okay? And so Pluto, this next 2.5 months, can really help us to clearly identify what that is and to give us the empowerment and the power and the freedom to lean all the way in and to surrender to the call of our muse, or some people might prefer to say God's calling on your life, or some people might say your greater destiny, right? Whatever language really hits home for you, that's what you can go with. Okay, so let's pull tarot cards for each of these and we'll see what we get for the call of the muse. I might pull a few extra for that one. I'm using the Crow Tarot. I like to pronounce it Crow Tarot deck. And do a few shuffles. If you do remember what your 2008 year was like, let me know in the comments. I know in 2008, I was graduating from my undergraduate degree and moving to California, moving to the Bay Area of California, starting my master's program. So for me, that was a huge shift, a definite shift, switching my major. I had switched my major from architecture to English, right? Decided to get some extra training in writing so I could become a writer. And it definitely has impacted the couple of decades since then, right? All right, we're ready to clarify with some tarot. Tell me more about Earth Magic, please. Please clarify this Earth Magic for the collective when it comes to Pluto's last excavation or internal work in Capricorn. Can you tell us about Earth Magic, please? Okay, we have 3 cards for Earth Magic. We have the 6 of Pentacles, we have the 4 of Wands, and we have Judgment. Judgment is the card of Pluto. Judgment rules Pluto. You can see the little glyph here. That is the symbol for Pluto. So it's very telling that we get the Pluto tarot card coming out so soon in the tarot portion of the reading. So this is having to do with the deep past. The Judgment card calls time on the past. And so Pluto, doing its last dance in Capricorn, is calling time on the past. There's something about the past that we have to put to rest. We have to put it to bed. We have to release it, let it go, surrender it, take the lessons from it, and be rebirthed from that past. Be rebirthed, be renewed like Phoenix from the ashes. We have to rise up into the new transfiguration of our lives and of ourselves. The 6 of Pentacles and the 4 of Wands. I'll start with a very practical explanation of this. This could be a renewal or some kind of change, transition, outcome in terms of our home environment, our family situation, especially ancestry here, our family lineage with this Judgment energy. And the 6 of Pentacles suggests that we suddenly have the resources we need, that we have the material, whether it's finances or just like material things and resources that are balanced, and it might start to feel like life is finally giving back to us in proportion of what we feel we've poured in and what we've given out. Okay, let's do, in bottom of the deck we do have Wheel of Fortune. So this is extra emphasis on the change, the turning of the page, the turning of the tide, stepping into a new era, especially with this Judgment energy. And this it's funny because Pluto is actually could represent a period of about 20 years, which is great because that's about more or less, the amount of time Pluto spends in the sign, depending on how often it retrogrades, depending on how big the constellation is, etc., etc. Let's look now at roots of abundance. Oh, I will say too that the Four of Wands is a card about our foundations. It is a card about the foundations of our lives. And so this is a reconsideration of what we've built our lives on, the foundations that we have been trying to build on up to this point, right? Roots of abundance, please. We have the Three of Swords for roots of abundance. And bottom of the deck, we have the Ace of Cups. So that's the pain. That's the need for healing. That's the sense of loss and needing to heal the loss that we felt in our lives so that we can believe in abundance again. And Pluto coming back into Capricorn might, for some people, if this is resonating, could be like that last big wave of healing in that part of your life. That last sacrifice even that we make to free ourselves from some old programming, from some previous conditioning that has been clouding our perspective about the abundance of love and possibilities and power and significance we have in our lives. Because it's the Three of Swords, I almost want to get another card, but let me see, because this Ace of Cups is at the bottom. This Ace of Cups is healing and renewal. And we get the Ten of Pentacles beneath here as well, which is very Capricorn-like to me. But what I was saying with the Ace of Cups is that it is a type of healing. So to me, it is an answer to this Three of Swords. But Pluto going back to Capricorn, how can I say this gently? It's like we can't skip the healing. It's like we can't bypass. We can't try to bypass the hurt feelings. We can't try to bypass the grief or the pain or the regret or that sense of loss. We can't bypass the ugly stuff or the painful stuff or the uncomfortable stuff or the gritty stuff. And that does not deny or take away the abundant flow of love that's available to us. Okay. So it's like this healing. And for some of you, it is in relation to relationships as well. Depending on, again, what area of your life Pluto has been cleaning out and excavating. But the Ace of Cups is about love in general, including and especially self-love and that internal fountain, that from which, you pour from a full cup. And it's interesting because in all of my videos, I talk about refilling your spiritual cup. And you might have heard the phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup. And so you want to pour from your overflow. And this is what that is. It's like Pluto is helping to refill our cups after significant loss and significant heartbreak. Okay. And helping us and reminding us that the universe is wise and loving, and there's an abundance of good things available in our worlds, in our realities. Okay, now let's look at this Call of the Muse, which I was really curious about. Call of the Muse, please, for the collective when it comes to Pluto's last excavation in Capricorn. Okay, this makes total sense. We get the Ace of Wands. The Ace of Wands, the wands in general being that fire, they are very, very creative. All of the wands are creative energy, but the Ace of Wands in particular is that call, is that spark of inspiration. The Ace of Wands, when you look up the meaning of the Ace of Wands, you will probably on some website find almost exactly that Ace of Wands is a spark of inspiration. It is a spark of a creative idea. It is the creative spark. It is the muse. It is the idea, the creative impulse to create. The creative impulse to create. You know what I'm saying. And I like this depiction in particular because it shows that this crow is at the start of a journey, right? And this speaks to me personally in my life with the city off in the distance, right? And this crow being at the start of that yellow brick road leading off to a journey into a new city, a new town, right? But yeah, the ace, the start, the seed. So for a lot of us, Pluto is again wrapping up whatever needs to be done so that we are free, so that we free up our mental energy, our emotional, spiritual energy, our time from whatever old structures, old patterns have been limiting us and holding us back, so that we can lean all the way into this new start and really embark fully on this journey without being weighed down or slowed down with regrets from the past, or being addicted to giving our power away, or addicted to toxic relationships, or whatever it may be. And I'm saying that too because Capricorn is a sign that governs or is associated with addictive patterns and addictions. I want to get one more just because I'm nosy about the call of the muse. One more here. The call of the muse. Ooh. Y'all have no idea. You do have an idea, but I'm just like, this is the perfect card. Oh my gosh, it's the perfect card. So first I'll start with the bottom of the deck, which is the Ten of Swords. We have the Ace of Cups beneath it again with the Ten of Pentacles. So 10, in terms of the numerology, 10 breaks down to a 1. So we essentially have 1, 1, 1, and that suggests a small victory, a minor victory, right? But also 10s in and of themselves represent endings, completions, and culminations. Perfect for Pluto culminating, ending its transit through Capricorn at the very final degree of Capricorn. And the Ten of Swords, as well as the Ten of Pentacles, really speak to ending patterns that have been painful, that have been self-sabotaging, that have been somewhat toxic or even violent or something hurtful and rigid. And the Ten of Pentacles is like the wealth that's generated through nefarious means. It's like wealth getting carried away with itself, like runaway capitalism, right? It doesn't always mean that, but in this context, I'm feeling it that way for some reason. It's like old inheritances from family that was cruel and horrible to you, you know what I mean? But also like at the societal level and at the ancestral level, releasing, any inheritances that both collectively, communally, and societally, as well as individually, that no longer are appropriate and that just need to be evolved. But the card that came out is the Magician. So I'll say, I don't know how many of you watching this read tarot for yourself, but the Magician is the quintessential artiste, chef, dancer, public speaker, like craftsman of the tarot deck. When you talk about the call of the muse and being the painter, the dancer, the writer, being the artist, being the creative entrepreneur, the inventor, the creative school teacher who, masters your craft and your discipline and your profession, that's the Magician. And so for a lot of people watching this, because I set the intention that it resonates with people who watch this, so hopefully that's you. The Magician, with this call of the muse and the Ace of Wands, some of you could have in a very practical sense, could be seeing developments around your skills, your abilities, your craft, your art, your profession. And I love that. And so this Pluto finishing up what's in Capricorn is going to give you that much more power, that much more freedom and dexterity and space and time and electricity and energy and vitality to be your beautiful, magical magician self. That's what I have for you, my dears, when it comes to Pluto's final little excavation in the sign of Capricorn. I will link to other videos that I think you might be interested in, so please take a look at those, and I hope to see you in another video. Take care.